Hello, and thank you for viewing this webinar on navigating distribution and warehousing careers through the Port of New York and New Jersey and the Council on Port Performance. I'm Blair Wegescheid, Principal Transportation Planner from the Port Department of the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. Myself and Hillary McCarran work to connect our host communities and educational partners with applicable workforce opportunities and career pathways at the Port. We are joined today by several of the Port's partners and stakeholders, including NJTPA, Prologis, and Imperial Dade, all directly involved in the vast opportunities available to you in the warehousing and distribution side of the maritime transportation, logistics, and distribution industry. This webinar will provide an overview of the distribution industry, the job opportunities that exist within this field, and how warehousing operations have been keeping employees safe and the supply chains running smoothly during the current pandemic. To get us started, I'd now like to introduce Ann Strauss-Weeder, Director of Freight Planning at NJTPA, who will provide an overview of the economic impact that the warehousing and distribution industry has on the New York and New Jersey region. Ann?
Thank you, Blair. We'll start with a really big boat. This is a CMA CGM Brazil. She carries nearly 15,100 TEUs, or 20-foot equivalent containers, and she is the newest, largest container vessel to come to Port Newark Elizabeth, and this was as of September. And she is carrying everything that we use in our daily lives. Next slide, please. What are supply chains? They're pretty important elements, again, of our daily lives. They're how goods move from where they're produced to where they're consumed, starting with the materials used in production to the production facilities, and then through a variety of facilities and transportation to the end users. And when we talk about business continuity, we talk about the capacity to continue to deliver products and services during and after a disruptive event. And that's exactly what supply chain individuals have been doing during the pandemic. Next slide, please. New Jersey is the supply chain state in North America. Well over 500,000 people are employed in New Jersey in transportation, logistics, and distribution, but we need a lot more individuals in this field. We have, as a state, well over 1 billion square feet of industrial property. In northern and central New Jersey, as of the third quarter of 2020, 851 million square feet of industrial property, an increase of 11 million square feet in a single quarter, with 3 million square feet in new starts underway. That big container vessel is just one of many calling on the port, which had more than 7.5 million TEUs in 2019, and in fact, in August and September of 2020, had record container movements through the port. We have a very robust road and rail system that we can see all around us. Next slide, please. And New Jersey has a rich and deep history of supply chain innovation, going all the way back to Alexander Hamilton in 1792, who looked at the new nation and realized that we needed to be innovative in our manufacturing, and created the Society for Useful Manufacturing, and further set up the first industrial park for the new nation, 700 acres in Paterson, New Jersey. So if you go to visit the Great Falls in Paterson, you'll see a statue to Alexander Hamilton and know that this was the birthplace of the American Industrial Revolution. New Jersey was also the birthplace of containerization in 1956 and one of the earliest locations for railroading in North America. Next slide. And we continue to adapt to meet customer needs. We see here again the Brazil going under the newly raised Bayonne Bridge. And we do anticipate that there'll be even larger container volumes coming through the eastern seaboard in the coming years. And all of that is supported by the industrial activity in New Jersey and the surrounding region. Next slide, please. And a lot of those goods are because of us, the consumer. And we have changed in terms of how we purchase items. Instead of going to brick and mortar stores, we more often order online. In 2019, about 15% of our retail sales were done by e-commerce. Now, as of the second quarter of 2020, that was already over 21%. And actually in April, it was 27%. We're increasingly asking that the goods come to us or that we go curbside to pick them up. But in many ways, it's a very changing environment supported by the industrial activity in New Jersey and the surrounding region. Next slide, please. And here's an example, because it's not just million square foot, really large buildings. It's also buildings that can be as small as 1,000 square feet. And this is just one example with Amazon of all the different types of facilities they have, ranging from fulfillment centers that are picking actual orders to sort facilities with lots of conveyors moving inside, food grade operations, because we get a lot of deliveries at home and also supporting a number of stores, and delivery stations where all those prime trucks that we see are picking up the goods and delivering to us. And it's not just Amazon. If you order furniture, it's going to a white glove delivery service, and then it's being scheduled to come to your house. And why is that? It's because supply chains are now the customer interface for a lot of the retail chains. They want it to be a good experience. Next slide, please. All those trends, our move to e-commerce, really prepared us for being able to pivot to meet our needs during the pandemic. And a lot has changed and a lot is emerging. We know that the pandemic was very much a demand reshaping, that instead of going to stores, the materials came to us. And everyone in the supply chain industry was an essential worker and still is an essential worker, ensuring that customers, both at home and at work, are getting the goods they need. We're seeing diversification of production locations and a lot of creative thought as to how to pivot existing production capability to meet changing demands and changing needs. And very importantly, as we'll hear from the speakers during this webinar, it's keeping the workforce safe. Again, essential workers, and that workplace has to be as safe and healthy as possible. And certainly we're seeing a lot of deployment of new technologies to expedite the movement of goods. Thank you. Can you move to the next slide, please? I'm with the North Jersey Transportation Planning Authority, which is a metropolitan planning organization. I've listed our website here so you can see all the various types of activities that also go on in the public sector, which also seek freight professionals at times. With that, Blair, if you go to the next slide. This is my thank you information so that you know how to reach me. And in concluding, I'm now going to turn it over to Prologis and Jesse Hardy.
Thank you, Ann, and thank you, Blair. Hillary and the Port of New York and New Jersey. We appreciate everything you do in the region and across the globe for us. My name is Jesse Hardy, and I am the Prologis Market Officer for New York and New Jersey. I am joined today by my colleague, Stephen Hussain, who is Prologis's National Director of Community Workforce Programs. I always enjoy hearing what Stephen has to say because workforce development is such a huge focus of Prologis and the logistics industry, and Stephen is very passionate about what he does. Prologis is the world's largest owner, operator, and developer of logistics real estate, more commonly known as industrial or warehouse real estate. On the next slide, you'll see that Prologis was started in 1983 and has grown to 976 million square feet, which is valued at $145 billion. Prologis has assets in 19 countries and on 4 continents. We are publicly traded on the New York Stock Exchange with the ticker of PLD. We have around 4,700 buildings with 5,500 customers, more commonly known as tenants. We call them customers because our relationship is more than the traditional landlord-tenant relationship, as we'll talk about later. We are joined on this webinar today by one of our largest customers in New Jersey, Imperial Dade. I look forward to hearing from Zach and Mary from Imperial Dade on the impact of labor on their business after Stephen. On the next slide, you'll see Prologis' global leading presence on 4 continents and in 19 countries. As you can see, the majority of our holdings are in North America, and we have significant presence in Europe, Brazil, Japan, and China. Locally, I oversee the New Jersey and New York market, where we employ approximately 40 Prologis staff in 5 offices. In the New Jersey and New York market, Prologis owns approximately 50 million square feet among 200 buildings with 400 customers. The next slide demonstrates Prologis is a critical waypoint for the global economy, and this slide demonstrates the activity of goods and trade that flow through our buildings. A couple stats for you. $2.2 trillion is the economic value of goods flowing through our distribution centers each year, representing 3.5% of GDP for the 19 countries where we do business and 2.5% of the world's GDP. But most importantly, it is not just the product flowing through our facilities, it is the people who work in our buildings. It is estimated that 850,000 people are employed by our customers. That is why Prologis is focused on more than just 4 walls and the roof of our buildings. We recognize the importance of being a trusted partner with our customers, and as part of being a trusted partner, Stephen will talk more about our community workforce initiative.
Thank you, Jesse. I appreciate that. And thank you, Anne, for your intro as well. So the first thing that I want to talk about today is just what's the challenge in the logistics sector. And it's really the point of today's webinar, which is the #1 challenge amongst our customers and across the board with logistics employers is actually hiring qualified workers. And if you look at the reasons behind that, it's because 1, the industry is growing rapidly. And 2, as Anne mentioned earlier in her presentation, the economy is changing. The way that we get goods delivered to our homes is changing. And as consumers, our demands are changing. So there's pressure to deliver faster, better, and more product lines. And all of that increases the need for talent. And so as we look at how our customers are responding to that, we work with them directly to help think about what solutions can be brought to the table. And one of the first things we want to do is really understand what are the particular needs. And on the next slide, we can talk about some of the positions that are hardest to fill for them. So when we survey our customers across the country and actually across the globe, the #1 position for them that's always challenging to fill is forklift operators. And this really extends beyond forklifts, but really heavy equipment operations in general. Those positions are challenging to fill for many reasons, but it has held consistent over several years of surveying. Right after that would be stockers, pickers, packers, material handlers. Those are the second most challenging to fill. And that role in particular is the one that is the most positioned within any distribution facility and is particularly challenging. But as you go down this list and you look at drivers, equipment technicians, and operations management, what you really understand is there's a variety of roles within the distribution industry and logistics industry, and there's a lot of opportunities as well. So as community partners and individuals looking for employment, there's certainly a great opportunity to join the industry. On the next slide, I'll talk about some of the reasons that are challenging for recruiting and retaining. And one of the toughest things right now is just the job skill requirements. A forklift operator or a driver or even a material handler is a skilled position. It takes talent to enter those roles, and making sure that you can find the talent needed is very hard. Second, which makes a lot of sense, is competitive recruiting. Again, the industry is growing very fast, and that's a challenge for all employers. But as you look further on this list, and as you think about it from a workforce development perspective, these are common challenges that we find when thinking about how do you get people to work and employed. Access to transportation is always a barrier. Prior employment history or criminal history, failure to pass a drug test, language barriers, and childcare, which actually has grown as a challenge during the COVID-19 pandemic. All of those can be issues for employers as they're thinking about how to get people connected to their jobs. On the next slide, I'll talk about some of the job skill requirements that we're seeing and what are the gaps. So when we survey our customers, we talk to them, what are the most challenging things that you see? What they'll say is that across the board, both soft skills are challenging, technical skills are challenging, and workplace skills, things like arriving on time, are challenges amongst their labor force and potential candidates. And at the same time, when we ask them what are the things that's easiest for them to train, it's easier for them to train on the technical skills like forklift operation. What is really hard to do is train somebody to have those soft skills like teamwork and problem solving, workplace communication. Those are the opportunities in which we have to help individuals entering the economy be connected to that. On the next slide, we talk about some of the opportunities that employers are using in order to gain and attract talent. So first and foremost, obviously financial incentives, most importantly being what are the starting wages. That's the first step in attracting talent. But the second thing that they list in terms of what have they seen success with across the country is job training programs and the ability to pre-train, pre-screen, and then place individuals into a very rapidly growing sector. And this bodes well for the future. There's an opportunity here to really make investments into workforce development for such a vibrant sector and such an important part of the New York and New Jersey economy. And so here's an opportunity for all of us to think about what are the investments that we can be making in these job training programs to connect people to these customers. On the next slide, talk about what is Prologis' approach to this, and Jesse hit on this a little bit. So the first thing we think about, and this is the way that you would think about all workforce development programs, is first working with customers and employers, understanding what their needs are and what are training and development opportunities that we can do. The second thing that we want to think about is how do we leverage our scale and our insights, but also build things at scale. So we want to make sure that we're not developing programs that are for 20 or 30 people, but how do you help support an industry that is 500,000 large in the region? How do you make sure that there's enough talent for a sector of that size? And the last piece, which is particularly important as we think about the future, is what is the future of logistics? As we've already discussed, the sector is changing fast, and it's extremely exciting to be a part of. There's so much innovation going around, but we want to make sure that the talent is prepared for that change and has the foundational skills, like digital skills, that will bode well and are important for them in the very future. On the next slide, I'll talk about what we're doing in particular. We launched the Community Workforce Initiative a little over 2 years. And the Community Workforce Initiative is our investment to make sure that we're connecting community-based organizations with our customers to develop new training and development programs for the logistics sector in particular. And by the end of 2025, we set a target that we want to help train and upskill 25,000 people across the country. This is an enormous opportunity for us, an enormous opportunity for the sector, but it's important that we have community-based organizations on the ground to be able to do that. On the next slide, I'll talk about how we're approaching that. So first, we talk about what is our approach and what's our belief. And we believe that as a vision, we really want to revitalize the career pathways and economic opportunities in the sectors and the communities that we serve. But second, we believe that workforce development is a competitive differentiator for the sector at large, right? As we are continuing to invest in talent, the industry is going to continue to grow, and that's very important for the region. On the next slide, I'll talk about some of the investments that we're making to do that at scale. We've built a learning management system and training program that's completely online, 100% mobile friendly, which you'll see in just a second, that people can access from across the country to enter into training programs and be connected with employment opportunities. This is designed for frontline workers. It's designed by and has been informed by customers and those who lead in the industry on what are the particular skills that folks need to be successful. So this platform includes the technical skills like material handling equipment and soft skills, as well as things like workplace communication, problem solving, and teamwork. So it's a robust platform, and it's one that's at no cost to anybody. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like. But on the next slide, you'll actually see what this looks like for a learner.
Frontline workers such as material handlers, shipping clerks, and assemblers are an essential part of quality control. They are the people closest to the action. They can ensure the success and continual improvement of a process by observing the process, collecting data, giving feedback, documenting findings, and offering recommendations.
Again, it's a completely mobile-friendly platform, and it's designed for a frontline learner. What's exciting about this, again, is that it's at no cost. You can sign up and you can be connected to this training and then ultimately career opportunities in the region. So with that, thank you for your time, and I'm going to pass it over to our phenomenal customer, Imperial Dade, and Zach and Mary.
Thank you. As Stephen said, I'm Zach Lavridis. I'm Imperial Dade's Chief Information Officer.
And I am Mary Mazeko, their Chief Strategy Officer.
Mary and I partner up on all of the heavy lift items that Imperial Dade does, in addition to what it says as our titles. So, for example, we built this warehouse with Prologis, in terms of actually building a warehouse. And then we built another one with them in Bordentown. So we are a happy Prologis customer with almost 1 million square feet of warehouse space, and we're looking for the next warehouse. If you wouldn't mind changing slides, we'd like to talk to you a little bit today about a couple of different topics, which we'll cover in detail, all related to who we are, what we do, and how diverse our needs are for the job market. If we could switch. So one of the things that we talk about a lot is what we do and how important we are to the market and to our neighbors. This is very well illustrated by the pandemic that we faced. Imperial Dade is classified as an essential business. We actually had conference calls with the President of the United States. On that call were the leaders of many other large businesses like Home Depot and Amazon, and basically we were talking about how we can make sure that we can continue to keep the supply chain open and make sure that we can continue to deliver. In our case, we deliver things that are essential to fighting the pandemic. For example, cleaners, sanitizers, janitorial supplies, all sorts of protective gear. When the time was really hard for us to get gear, we worked harder. We flew things in instead of waiting for boats to come in. We were getting it done while other people were having a hard time, and it was important because the people who we sell to are every single school in our region, hospitals, senior care facilities. Trying to keep the frontline workers supplied, trying to make sure that we can continue keeping this fight. It's essentially what we did. We stocked up and supplied people with what they needed to do their day-to-day fighting of this virus.
So in addition to just supplying hospitals and schools and all other retail that was still working during the pandemic, we were also working within our community here in Jersey City and helping their government facilities here to supply them with the PPE that they needed so that they could actually support the community at large. So we were busy working throughout the pandemic, helping them support our local communities as well.
And if you look at it our part in this fight was supplying the frontline troops, which is something that an army needs. And as far as Mary and I are concerned, this was our finest hour. This was the best work we've ever done, and we did not fail.
And we were very proud of all of our employees.
Yeah, keeping them safe and keeping our place functional was job one. We stopped doing the CIO and strategy bit, and we just focused on what we were faced with. So, moving on, if you don't mind, we're an enterprise. We have a lot of people working here. Our headquarters are in Jersey City, and based on, and you can see that's our building there. Based on any enterprise, there are jobs that run the gamut of what every enterprise needs. In addition to that, there's the whole warehouse, transportation, and logistics side of it. So from a technical perspective, I'm our CIO. We have the entire gamut of technical needs. We have programmers, we have database administrators, we have designers, we have business analysts. If you can think of it, we have DevOps people, we have people who are proficient in Microsoft technology, in Unix and Linux, in RPG, in IBM technology. We're huge cloud adopters. We're big in the Amazon and the Microsoft clouds. We do it all, and there's room for every single skill set in technology. Data analytics is something as well that we're huge on. We're a Cognos shop, and we're a Power BI shop. We consume this data. We're looking to find ways to do it better and faster so that we can take the data that we have and use it in ways that it really wasn't designed to be used, so we can extract from it key insights into how to do things better. And that business intelligence is something that keeps us nimble. It's there's no guesswork to it. We understand what synergies are. We understand how to be competitive. There's a financial aspect to it.
There's the financial, there's the sales and the marketing. Those are all key components that keep us, growing and expanding in the area. Financial roles we have both here in Jersey City and in our North Bergen area that we actually have some people working in the financial. And of course, during the pandemic, some of these fields, such as the technical, the data, and the financial, sales and marketing, we've been able to have those people, work from home and still expand and still compete with other businesses and complete all of our deliveries. However, I think one of the biggest challenges we've had in opportunities and trying to get people into Jersey City is some of the transportation and logistics and the warehousing. And that seems to be, as Prologis had mentioned earlier, where we find that we have the most openings and that we're always looking for people to join our team.
Right. The purchasing, to round up the needs, we have 40 people who do purchasing for us, who buy the stuff that we sell. We have containers and trailers coming in every day. We have 100 to 120,000 pieces just in Jersey City every single day that we receive, we put on our racks and on our shelves, and then we ship out the next day. In order to do that, we have to have a very skilled group of people who receive product, who scan product into inventory, who put product into the slots that they're assigned to. At night, they take orders. We're fully wireless and we're fully RF scanning. And what we do is we build our trucks every night. We take our orders and we put them on pallets and we put them in a certain way, in a certain order, in terms of who gets their orders delivered first will be on the end of the truck. There's crushability. There's a whole bunch of factors that we place into this. We get our trucks out and on the road. Sometimes, at night we have deliveries in Manhattan. We have a couple hundred trucks that leave here every day. The warehousing bit is what we do.
Right. I think everybody's learned that during the pandemic. I think one of the things that we've learned the most is how important distribution is to all parts of our life. That it's not just being delivery to the restaurants who unfortunately, took a big hit during this pandemic, but it's also the hospitals, the schools, the government agencies, that without distribution, they can't get the supplies that they need. And so we've actually know that how important our warehousing facility is during this time.
And finally, we have a repairs division, which is growing very, very well. In order to sell chemicals and cleaners and degreasers, there's the machinery that's necessary to strip floors, vacuum, blow leaves, throw snow. We sell all that in order to support our chemicals business, and we do repairs on that. And we have a dozen people here in Jersey City doing repairs, engine repairs, small engine repairs, machine repairs, all these things that we mentioned. These are all jobs that we fulfill here. If we could go to the next slide. So when you're a job seeker and you're looking for a job here at Imperial, there are certain people that have to have some sort of credential, that have to have experience in training. So obviously, if you're a CDL driver, you might have a Class A, B, or C license. Our people are all safety trained here, and we will make sure that people maintain OSHA certification and safety level trainings. Our forklift operators are trained and certified on our equipment. The IT people, of course, have some certification path as well. We also train them internally, and we make sure that they maintain their certification so that when things change and evolve, that they're always on the game. And then the same with the repairs division. There's a certain training that they get from the manufacturers, new products. They do all the put-togethers and the prep for everything that's new that goes out. And being an enterprise, there is, of course, college for all of our financial divisions, our HR, the entire business division, which again runs from sales and operations to planning and forecasting. And then every single branch, we have 30 some odd branches currently under management. They all have to have some form of management position, a branch manager, an assistant manager, a regional manager, and in those managers positions, there are, of course, operations managers, day managers, night managers, office managers, customer service, all sorts of management positions are required. If we could move on. So if you're looking at logistics careers, we would prefer a resume. It just makes it easier to track you. It's a piece of paper that we can move around and share, but it's not required. When we're hiring someone, we do a full background check. We will sponsor a COVID-19 exam for anybody new to the company. We absolutely guarantee a safe, clean, and socially distanced environment. We've recently just put up a great deal of glass among all of our partitions to make it a little bit more contained. And we have lots and lots of PPE. Everyone here that works here, we're looking for some sense of adaptability, working as part of a team with a good outlook. We try to foster self-confidence and self-awareness, motivation. There's nothing really that if someone sees a problem, they can't attack. They can do whatever within the realm of possibility. If there's a job that needs to get done and you've noticed it, then it can be yours if you want it. There's no limit to how you can grow here. And we absolutely support second chance opportunities. We certainly are interested in making sure that our neighborhood is a place that sees us as an integral part of of Jersey City. We mentor and train people, and we do our best.
Right. One of the other things that we've done is that we've actually word of mouth. We're very happy to have people come into the company, and we've promoted within the company. We've found that is one of our best assets is our people. That is something that we cannot stress enough, is that we have people in the company that have come in and started working in the warehouse and have moved up to other positions after they've learned and trained within the company. And we find that is the best thing. If we can retain our workforce by keeping them happy, it works in both favors. It keeps the employee happy, and it actually is great for the company. Happy employees. So that's something that we push.
And I think that's a good segue to our last slide. People looking for a career here can find on our website a link to apply for a job. We post jobs on Indeed and a couple of other boards. We've had very successful job fairs. We've had hundreds of applicants show up. Jersey City advertises it for us. We are very close partners with the mayor's office, And we've had very successful job fairs. If you're a Jersey City resident, you might see them posted. Mary said, word of mouth, and we will stick a wood in the ground and put up a sign and say drivers wanted, which is probably going to be true no matter what time of day you're reading this. That'll be a true statement. And with that, I think Mary and I are done on this one.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ann, Stephen, Jesse, Zach, and Mary for your informative presentations. They were great and provided a great deal of information. And thank you to NJTPA, Prologis, and Imperial Dade for all of the work that you do in this industry. We hope you found this webinar helpful and encourage you to connect with us. As you can see on the screen, please feel free to send any follow-up questions to tldjobexpo@panyj.gov, and make sure to join our TLD Jobs LinkedIn group as well. Thank you again, and we hope you enjoyed the webinar.